Protecting your intellectual property is such an important part of running a business. We all need to understand the intricacies behind this because it can really affect you on multiple levels throughout your organization. It happens all the time. Intellectual property theft, through ignorance or deliberate, happens all the time. I've been guilty of it myself in the past without even knowing it. So again, it's really important that your business is protected as in the best possible way. And today we're talking specifically about trademarking, how you can implement trademarks within your organization that can help protect you against things like some of your competitors or shonky operators that are trading as your name, so on and so forth. This episode is titled How to Make Sure Your Intellectual Property is Safe, and it's the third and final episode of the Protecting Your Trade Business from Legal Risk series that I've been conducting with my awesome co-host Helen Kay, who is from the Contracts Lawyer. If you have any follow-up questions about anything to do with contracts law, by all means, jump across to the Facebook community and ask those questions in there, because if we haven't covered it, or if we need to elaborate on anything any further on a topic that we have covered, then I will definitely Helen back on the show to ensure that we get all of your questions answered. This is here for you guys. I want to make sure that you're getting as much information as we can out to you guys to make sure that you're making the right decisions, right educated decisions, I should say. So please go ahead and join that community. If you think you have any colleagues that might benefit from this podcast series, please go ahead and share that with them. I much appreciate that. And otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in the community, and enjoy the show, guys. Ciao. Today's podcast has been proudly brought to you by Tradie Web Guys. Tradie Web Guys work with tradespeople only on their websites and marketing solutions to help them stand out from their competition. Everything from web design through to SEO, search engine marketing, content creation, you name it, guys. It is a customized solution for trade-based organizations, and it's fantastic. Head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/apply, fill in the form, and let's have a conversation.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Site Shed podcast. You are joining me, your host, Matt Jones, and Helen Kay from the Contracts Lawyer. Helen, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back, Matt.
This is the third and final episode in this three-part series. This series we have titled Protecting Your Trade Business Against Legal Risk, or from Legal Risk. In the first episode, and I encourage you guys, if you haven't heard the other episodes, go check them out. They sort of tie into each other, and we'll reference the other episodes, so it'll probably make more sense to you if you go and listen to those. Part one, we were talking about how to make sure you get paid. In the second episode, or the previous episode, we're talking about how to make sure your business is ready for sale. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about how to make sure your intellectual property is safe. Helen, again, another topic which I have for years and years been banging on about on the podcast, protecting your IP. And, I've been in situations myself where I have actually, without even knowing it, been guilty of IP theft through ignorance more than anything else. So, which is why I love talking about these things so much, because so many people might be out there doing the wrong thing and not even knowing it. So I think it's really important. We sell a product called G Suite from Google, which enables businesses to put their documentation in the cloud and have permission restrictions over who can see what, all this kind of stuff, which has been fantastic in protecting IP for our businesses and the people we work with. I get the feeling we're going to be going a little bit deeper than G Suite in this episode. I mean, it's quite a broad scope, I suppose, the whole topic around intellectual property. But do you want to give us a bit of a summary as to your experience around IP, making sure it's safe, protecting it, and I suppose keeping, and what we're going to be talking about in this episode?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I guess in summary, I was, in preparing for these podcasts, I was thinking not only, what do tradies want at the moment, also what do they need? What you really don't want at this point in time is to be building, you mentioned in the last episode, Matt, that your guys are still busy, still doing work. Well, if that's the case, then they're still generating goodwill. And goodwill is, the public positive perception of the brand, and the brand is the business name that you operate under. So if you do operate under a name that's different to your own name, then you have a brand. I'm not necessarily talking about, imagery here. I'm just talking about the name of the business. And if people start associating that with a quality service and it stands out from the crowd, What you don't want is to pull up at the lights one day and look at the van next to you and see that your business name is emblazoned across their van. And then, get phone calls from people saying, oh, where are you? You've not shown up for a job. And, we've looked you up on the line, and find that, there's somebody out there trading as you and taking deposits and not showing up. And so many examples of that the only way to stop that happening is to register a trademark.
I'll tell you now, there is, and you probably have way more experience in this than I do, but if you're talking about like plumbers and electricians, for example, I swear to God, there are so many business names that are almost identical. I have no idea how they even get registered. It's just mind-boggling. And it's all that, we're in New South Wales, we're in Queensland, it just blows me away how similar they can be. And I've had a lot of clients have this same issue where they're getting complaints about jobs they haven't done. And, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And what it is ASIC maintains business names. So you have to have a business name to operate. And unless you're using your own name in Australia, you have to register a business name. That's a legal requirement. You can't register the same business name, but that could be so similar to another one. So for example, I'm the contracts lawyer with an S. It would still be possible for somebody else, had I not already bought it, to register the contract lawyer.
Yeah.
So because it's just literally, I always think of ASIC business names as a library, and they're all the names are stacked up. And you just, by buying the business name, you've just taken that book off the shelf. You've not stopped anybody else using it. And the only way to do that is through registering a trademark. So that's what I really want to talk about today, because where we are in the world at the moment, it's April 7, we're at the beginning of COVID-19, and it could be that people might have a little bit more time on their hands over the next few months to actually work on their business. So one of the things I wanted them to add to that list, I've already asked them to look at their terms and conditions and to do a little bit of legal health check on their business to make sure it's ready for sale. I actually want them to look and see whether, if they've not got a trademark, to go and register one.
And to be honest, it's the easiest process in the world to go through. Like, I've recently gone through registering a couple for my own business, and I think it might have taken all of 15 minutes to do each one, or maybe not even. It wasn't hard.
Okay. How did you go? Did you use the TM Head Start initial assessment, or did you go straight for an application?
Good question. It was through, I don't know what the website was.
Oh, so you didn't go directly to IP Australia. Did you use an agent?
No, I think it was IP Australia, the website.
Okay, cool. That's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to actually talk through how you can register your own trademark through IP Australia.
So for a lot of you listeners out there, obviously, if you're not located in Australia, I'm sure there would be something relatively similar for you in your market. You just have to go and find it. Helen's practices law in Australia here, so a lot of what she might refer to today is specifically for the Australian market, but rest assured there would certainly be something available wherever you are.
Yeah, that's correct. And we could probably try and, if people do come on to the Facebook page with questions after they've watched this, we can certainly try and find the links to the relevant IP registration in each of their areas.
That'd be good. Maybe even in the resource, we can link to primarily, there's a lot of Canadians, there's a lot of Americans that listen to this. So if we could maybe just make a note
some of those. Yeah, never done it. Obviously, I'm an Australian lawyer and English. You can probably tell from my accent. I started my career in the UK. There's a prize for anyone who can guess where my accent's from.
Yorkshire.
No, try again. Nearly.
Is it? No, I thought so.
We've got two great football teams, I'll put it that way.
Oh, you're a Manchester girl. Okay, that was close.
Yeah, so I do get phone calls from people quite often, Matt, particularly in the retail sector and particularly in the online space, where they say that it's come to their attention that somebody's using the same business name or remarkably similar.
Yeah.
So remarkably similar that their suppliers were confused by it, and in which case the customers will be confused by it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've had to advise them, that if you don't have a trademark, and we need to really quickly get on and get them trademarked. It's a long process, which you'll find out if you've recently done it. It's up to 7 months to get it registered. But once it's in the system, you've got first mover's advantage. So you'll always be that further forward than the next person who tries to register the same trademark.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think when I lodged it, it goes into like appeal. Oh, I don't know, what do they call it? Like process, and then I don't think it was 7 months. I think it might have been like 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the full process under the Trademarks Act is 7 months in terms
Okay.
of, you might have just got to the next stage.
Right.
You probably haven't got to the stage yet where you're allowed to put the little symbols. There's 2 different symbols. There's TM, which means that you own that business name and it's unregistered trademark, but you're in the process of registering it. And then the other one that you'll see, with the R in a circle, that's what you'll be able to do once you've got your registered trademark. And a lot of people get confused and they put TM when they actually could put R, which is better.
That's interesting. I'd never knew that. There you go.
Exactly. Well, there you go. That's what I'm here for.
Absolutely. I've already
brain dump all this stuff that I've learned over the years.
Yeah.
From Google.
All right. Carry on then.
Okay, carry on. So a lot of people will call me and say, I've got a business name. Do I need to register a trademark as well? The answer is yes. Business names and trademarks are 2 very different things. I've already touched on the fact that you have to register a business name in Australia if you're going to operate under a name that's different to your own name. But registering a trademark is more of a choice that you make as a branding strategy. So
right.
If you've paid a branding expert to design this really fantastic logo and you think that your business name is so unique and it's going to be worth a fortune, then you have to get it trademarked. That should be your next step. So, you're helping people with websites and, getting that all done. The trademarking of the brand is crucial. It doesn't cost a lot.
No, it's $250, I think.
Yeah, it's about $330, I think, all in. You might still need to pay your Part 2 fee, which is your registration fee. So it's about $330 payable to IP Australia per class. I'll get
that's
to that
right.
in a moment.
Yeah.
But if you've not got a registered trademark, you can't stop somebody using your business name. So.
Right.
And there's also lots of benefits to registering a trademark, not only for that whole ownership thing of, sending a cease and desist letter to somebody who's irked you because they're using your business name, but also in terms of selling. We talked in the last episode about selling your business. A registered trademark is an asset, so it'll sit in your assets pool and it can have a value. You can't sell an unregistered trademark.
Right.
You can gift it. You can license it. So one of the things...
So if it's TM, you can gift it. If it's R, you can sell it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. With licensing, so I mentioned in the previous podcast that pre-COVID-19, I was doing a lot of work with successful business owners in franchising their business.
Mm-hmm.
And in franchising, that also includes licensing. So there's a little subset of franchising which isn't as heavily regulated, known as licensing. We can do another podcast on that because that's a favourite topic of mine. But either if you're licensing or franchising to somebody to operate using your intellectual property, you need to have a trademark, because they're going to want to make sure that it's, it's all legit and it's not infringing somebody else's trademark. Yeah, so it's an asset, it sits on the balance sheet and it gives you rights across Australia. So even if you're operating in Queensland, you can stop somebody using that particular, if you've registered your logo, you can stop them using that logo in Australia. If you've registered the name of the business, you can stop them from using that.
Typically the situation that we see more of is not so much people wanting using their logo, it's more them using like a really close business name.
Yeah, same. And that's why people come to me and they give me their JPEG of their logo from the branding expert and they say, can you register this? And I actually say, well, even though it's got the business name on it, I actually say, no, can I just register the word or phrase, which is your business name?
Yeah.
Matt Jones podcast or something like that. And I would register that because that gives you the widest possible protection rather than, and people play around with the logos, don't they? And they change. You don't want to have to keep re-registering your trademark unless you're McDonald's and you've stuck with the golden arches. You really don't need to worry about that. Unless you think that that's what's driving people to your business is this fantastic logo, then that's when you can register the logo separately to the business name.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, so if you're in that situation where you do register the trademark for the business name and somebody, has another name that's extremely similar, can you register that as well if they haven't?
Yeah, you could do.
Right.
There's certain rules.
Well, for example, could you register a trademark for the contract lawyer and the contracts lawyer?
I could do, as long as I own the business name in both of them. Now, the problem with that would come in the opposition stage. So there's all these different stages once you've registered. I think you're in the 2-month stage, so you're probably up to the advertising stage where they advertise it and make sure that nobody opposes it. If somebody was actually genuinely using the contract lawyer and for whatever reason hadn't bought the business name, which begs a whole lot of other questions, and they could successfully prove during that period that they've been using it and they've got evidence to show that they've built up goodwill, then they might be able to successfully oppose it. But yeah, you can register a trademark in any business name that you own, but in order to be able to defend it, you would need to show that you've actually been using it.
And so in order to oppose something like this, does ASIC or whatever governing body, wherever you live, have to come to you and say, hey, so-and-so wants to register this trademark, do you oppose it?
Yeah, that's what would happen. So IP Australia, if you register a trademark, IP Australia goes through the procedure in the Trademarks Act, and one of that is to advertise it. And then during that period, there's a period of opposition so some companies, Matt, have trademark teams where they're constantly trawling the internet to see whether people are using similar names. Probably not relevant to what we're talking about with some of the people here, but you can keep an eye on it. I mean, maybe set yourself a little diary reminder. If you're going to trademark your brand, your name, then why not have a diary reminder once a month to just Google your name and see what pops up, plug it into Facebook, see what pops up, because that's what the legal teams are doing.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
I was just going to go through the practical steps. So you can of course engage a lawyer or a trademark attorney to help you, but if you're relatively savvy at using the internet and you're really clear as to where your brand sits within all the different classes that are available, you can actually go onto the IP Australia website. You can choose, they obviously do patents, designs, all the other sorts of fancy IP. I'm just talking about trademarks. And you obviously managed to navigate it. It's pretty simple. It's like a 5-step process.
And if I can do it.
Well, there we go. And there's loads of helpful videos and things as well. So if you do get to a point where you think, I really don't know, just stop and watch one of their videos.
I'll probably dicked it up. Anyway.
I'll have a look at it later. We'll see what we can do. It's not finalised yet. You've registered like in, I should have popped it in.
I'll be right.
Okay, so what you first of all have to decide is if you actually got a trademark. So there's a lot of names, I don't know, great lawn mowing. You couldn't register that because it just identifies the goods and services and describes them. Yeah, it has to be sort of unique, and it's getting harder and harder. So if you imagine, I know I did the analogy of the library with business names, but you imagine again a library, and slowly as everybody started putting a trademark in, those shelves start filling up. They're getting, from where we were 10 years ago, there's a lot of books on those shelves now.
What about geographical terms? So this is really, really common. You can't trademark it because we got Roseville Plumbing, Chatswood Plumbing, Mossman Plumbing, Cremorne Plumbing. Everyone's trying to secure these names.
That would be hard. That would be really hard. Again, if you go onto the IP Australia website, the first section is called Decide if you have a trademark. And they've got this thing called the Trademark Assist tool. There's a little link to it. And that way you can just plug in your business name. And it could be really, in a backward sense, if you're starting up a business, if there's anyone on here who's, perhaps, unfortunately lost their job recently and they're thinking of starting up in a trade, something they used to do and are passionate about doing, and they're actually thinking of a business name and they're thinking, oh, what's cool? What do I like? Well, maybe check with the Trademark Assist tool and see if it's actually trademarkable before you go and spend money on branding.
That's a good tip, yeah.
And a good branding expert should do that for you as well, really.
Would you, so in terms of the steps, and you're probably going to get to this anyway, but would you go and register the business first and then check the trademark?
Oh, get the business name first, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can literally sit with your phone on your lap watching whatever you watch and just click through and just see if the business name's available, check that the domain names are available, and then check that you can trademark it. And if all those things tick, then you just go buy, and then the trademark can come afterwards. Because
I used to do this presentation, and I used to call it claiming your real estate, and that was the sort of the thing we do. You always see if the business name is available, you check the domains are available. I never did trademarks, to be honest with you, but now I know we should have. And then check all your social media, names are available, all that kind of stuff. I think as well, like back in the day, there was a lot of weight and leverage from a marketing search engine point of view on Mossman Plumber, Cameron Plumber, Chatswood Plumber, and securing those domains. Whereas I think today now businesses can afford to be a bit more creative because it doesn't hold the same sort of weight from a marketing perspective in terms of URL and that kind of thing.
Agreed.
I feel like businesses can kind of, like, you don't have to sort of fall into that old style of naming a business based off where you are and what you do.
Yeah, or putting an A in front of it. Remember when the yellow pages used to come out and it would be like A1 plumbing.
AAA Accelerate Plumbing.
AAA, so you knew that you were at the front because people got too bored when we got past that.
Yeah.
As long as it's, there's obviously legalities as to what you can call your business. There's no swearing and, nothing derogatory in there and things like that. But like I say, if it is something that's just describing the goods and services, then it's unlikely to be registered because commonly used descriptive terms are unlikely to be accepted for registration.
That's a really good tip, though. So for all you guys out there that were thinking of doing that or have done it, maybe you should rethink it.
Yeah, just go onto the IP Australia website and then go to the trademark section and look at the trademark assist tool and then plug it in, or give me a shout and I'll do that while I'm on the phone to you. That's fine. But you also have to, so the next thing you have to do is be clear before you sort of sit there with your credit card and plug it. Have a good look at the different classes of goods and services.
Right.
There's 40, as you'll have discovered, there's 45 different classes.
Yeah.
And you can only, each time you register within a class, so it doesn't stop. So if you register in a class for plumbing and electrical, that doesn't stop somebody using that business name in, I don't know, retail sale.
Adult entertainment.
Exactly, yeah. It wouldn't stop it. So you just got to be really clear and go through, and there's tools in there again. That trademark assist tool will help you identify and recommend the goods and services for your business.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just keep a little pad going, you know whether you've got it, whether you can trademark it, which class. You might want to put it in multiple classes. I've had a retail client recently who sold, in their retail shop, they sold things like candles, perfumes, clothing, jewellery. We had to actually go in 3 different classes to make sure that, a competitor couldn't use the business name.
Right.
But it costs per class. So the 330 is per class. So
yeah.
Just weigh that up. Again, search existing trademarks. So as well as checking whether your name is trademarkable, you want to make sure to see whether somebody's already trademarked something remarkably similar. You can do a trademark search on the IP Australia website.
Yeah.
Again, the hyperlinks, you'll see them when you're reading about trademarks. You'll see the blue hyperlink that you can click on for the Australian trademark search. Have a good look at that. And then there's 2 ways. I asked you right at the beginning, how did you do yours? There's 2 ways you can apply for a trademark through IP Australia. You can either do a pre-application service known as TM Head Start, and that's actually, it gives you an initial assessment from an examiner. So basically within 5 days, you'll get an examiner's report that says if you process this for a full application, whether it's likely to be accepted. Now that can save you some money because the cost for that is $200, and you'll find out within 5 days whether if you pay the next part, so the remaining $130, whether it would likely be accepted. So if it's not going to be accepted, you're out of pocket $200, as opposed to doing the full application where you're going to wait 7 months to find out you're out of pocket $330. So I always, even as a lawyer, I use TM Head Start. I guess I'm also a bit impatient. I don't want to wait 7 months to find out whether it's been accepted. I want to get that examiner's report in my inbox within 5 days.
Yeah, maybe I should have done that. Anyway.
That's all right. You didn't know me then. The other thing to note is that IP Australia, you have to set yourself up. You'll have done this, Matt. You have to set yourself up as almost an IP Australia agent to register your own trademark. And all communications go through your IP Australia. So you have to log into IP Australia and then check your messages. So they won't come to your private email address.
Right, that's good to know.
You've got to keep an eye on that. And also, nothing will come through the post from IP Australia. So if you've put which you will have had to have done, put either your business address or your home address in, that's now a public record. So what happens is you get 2 types of people that basically jump on that. You get scammers who tell you, they'll sometimes even head it IP Australia. and they'll actually say, you lodged this application to register this, and it'll be your name. And they'll give you some bank details and say, you need to pay another fee, otherwise it won't be registered. You need to pay it by close of business tomorrow.
Wow.
And people are getting caught out by that. So if anything comes through the post, send it to me and I'll tell you it's a fake, or just put it straight in the bin, because IP Australia only communicate through e-services in your IP Australia portal.
What?
Yeah. The second group of people. So one is your spammers, and the second group are IP attorneys. Unfortunately, there's a group of IP attorneys that will just jump on it and say, do you want help? Now, they're legit because they're registered IP attorneys, but what they're saying is, do you want help with something that you've already done? Do you want us to help you?
Interesting.
It is interesting. So I've helped people. I offer a service where I actually log on through Zoom and I'll get a share screen from my client and they'll apply for the trademark, and I'll talk them through it. So that's how we can do it. Or the other service for people who are just so busy working on their business that they don't have time for this is I'll just do the whole thing, in which case I'll keep an eye on IP Australia. Just whatever the client wants, basically. But I just wanted to make a point about those unsolicited communications that you'll get.
Cool.
Yeah. That's it, really. It's just a quick whistle-stop tour of how to register a trademark. A few other suggestions of how you can further protect your intellectual property if you're interested.
Yeah, cool. I mean, that's obviously one area of intellectual property, which is extremely important. But I mean, intellectual property can go a lot deeper into, in my experience anyway, protecting your content and your digital assets and, your copy and your processes and your systems and all that kind of stuff as well, right?
Yeah. It goes way further. And this is really just about protect your business name.
Right. Yeah. So I suppose that's a whole nother podcast potentially.
Absolutely. And for someone much cleverer than myself.
Oh, I doubt it.
But for which we would need a IP attorney.
Actually, I've got a mate who does that.
Yeah. I've got a few mates that do that. Pretty clever people.
All right, Helen, this has been great. This is, I suppose, drawing to a close now. This was the third episode in the series that we've created. What have we called it here? Protecting your trade business from legal risk. So, folks, if you missed the other two episodes, please go back and check them out. Part 1 was how to make sure you get paid. Part 2 was how to make sure your business is ready for sale. And you've just heard now how to make sure your intellectual property is safe, referring specifically to trademarking. And a lot of the references there, as I said, guys, were Australian-based. However, please go and do a bit of research as to whatever resources are available for you in whatever market you operate. Helen, thank you very much for your time. It's been awesome. You're the contracts lawyer at thecontractslawyer.com.au. It's contracts with an S for you guys. Once again, you can get hold of Helen either through the website there or via the Facebook community in which she is a member and active. Helen, you've also left behind some resources for the listeners and viewers. Guys, you get hold of those through the SiteShed website. And just head across to the resources page or head across to the relevant episodes for this series. Have I missed anything, Helen?
No, nothing at all. I just want to let people know. I know we started, I think, episode 1. It feels like a long time ago now. We started episode 1 by saying, a lot of people are nervous about speaking to lawyers, etc. And I made the point that, there's 2 different types of lawyers, the ones that you go to when something bad's happened and, you're feeling a bit stressed. But there's also what I call, the sort of nice lawyers like myself who just want to help you stay in business, grow your business, avoid unnecessary risk. And, I'm really happy to have a chat with anybody who, has some questions about anything they've heard in this podcast or any other questions. I'll leave a link. I don't know if I'll be able to do this, a link where someone can book in with me. That'll be, I guess, through my website, contractslawyer.com.au. And people can just book in and just have a really quick chat. If I can help them, I will. If I can refer them to somebody else, I will. I think we're just all in this together and we need to do what we can to help each other.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for your time. It's much appreciated. And guys, if you have any further questions or if there's anything that we haven't covered off on in terms of contracts law, by all means, just head across to the Facebook group, ask the question. If we need to do another podcast, a follow-up episode, then we're more than happy to do so. We've already came up with an episode that we throughout this one that we want to cover. So there will be more to come. And whatever you guys want to hear, you let us know. We sort of let you guys steer the ship in terms of what sort of content we produce. So by all means, let us know. And if you want to head across to one of the platforms and leave a review, then absolutely, please do so. It helps us with the rankings. So that's all from me. That's all from Helen. That's all from the SiteShed podcast. We look forward to seeing you in another episode, and we look forward to chatting to you in the group. Ciao. Thank you for listening to another episode of Toolbox Talks. If you're liking what you hear, then you can head across to the siteshed.com where you can join our community by signing up to our Toolbox Talks. You'll get sent a weekly notification, which is basically a highlight of everything that we've spoken about during that week, along with any other industry news that may be relevant or specific to the trades. If you're enjoying the show, you can head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, where you can leave us a review. That would be fantastic, and all the reviews get read out in the show. Likewise, if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from the show and the episodes that we create, then please go ahead and share it with them.